Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Local News. There are 9 new cases of COVID-19 in Saskatchewan. None of them are in the zone that includes Lloydminster and North Battleford. 5 cases are in the Central East region and 1 each in Saskatoon, Regina, South Central, and the Southeast zones. 143 cases are considered active. 1 person is in hospital in intensive care in Regina. 19 more people have recovered. Lloydminster incumbent Colleen Young is continuing along the campaign trail, opening her campaign office in the border city this weekend. Young has been door knocking since July, and this year's campaign has been different for her with public safety measures in place.
Ring the doorbell with the end of my pen, or hand sanitizer, ring the doorbell and then step back 6 feet. So but people are very positive about having a conversation with me, and sometimes it's between the door and myself, but that's okay. It's been positive and interesting to hear people.
Economic recovery is Young's biggest focus, adding the Saskatchewan Party plans to create 100,000 jobs by 2030 through the resource sector.
Created lots more opportunities for business investment in some of the larger areas, such as mining and forestry and a few other places like that. So, we want to keep that growing, and we've worked hard to deregulate and support them in their industries.
The Saskatchewan Party has also announced they plan to balance the province's budget by 2024. Another border city resident has announced they are running for Lloydminster City Council. Rhiannon Greening put her name forward as a city council candidate after the COVID-19 pandemic made her realize she wanted to help the community in a different way.
I've lived most of my life in Lloydminster. I met my husband here, and we're raising our 4 sons here. And through all the volunteering that we've done, and even watching our parents volunteer with coaching hockey as I grew up, and all different kinds of things, it made me really want to do my part in giving back. And I kind of learned a lot over the last few months. Actually, through COVID is when I made the decision.
Greening has been working as a doula for the past 8 years, helping and supporting families around the community who are expecting. She wants to be a voice for those families.
I've learned through them that not everybody knows what supports are in the community. Not all the young families know what's available to them, what opportunities there are, and I want to be able to show them. They don't always have the time to learn about that kind of stuff, and maybe they need somebody that can speak to them more.
Greening mentions that she would also like to be a part of projects like DARP and the LCSC. More information is available on her Facebook page. Last week, we introduced you to a Holy Rosary High School student who wants to make a difference in the community. Connor Chan has more on how the school is getting behind the Helping Hands initiative.
Kashi Antonio, a 12th grade student at Holy Rosary High School, set up Helping Hands to provide gloves to those who are vulnerable and less fortunate. The school has been a big support for Kashi in her goal to help collect donations.
I emailed him and let him know a little bit about my campaign, and he responded and he was glad to help out, and he said that I could keep a bin in the front of the school for people around the community to donate. And also I just came in this Monday and there was another bin for students to drop off, so that was great to see.
Since having the bins at the school, the amount of student support has been positive, including help from the staff as well.
It's crazy how well people, the students and everyone are participating, and how they responded. Right now we have about 40 gloves that I've taken from the school, but I just went into Miss Bence's classroom, one of my teachers, and there's been 3 boxes full of gloves at the front. So it's awesome how well the students are responding. So
the Helping Hands project is also coinciding with other initiatives at the school, including 5 loaves and 2 fish, where for every time a student of Miss Bentz brings in gloves for Helping Hands, she will be donating an item to the 5 loaves and 2 fish organization. There's still optimism for Kashi that the goal collection of gloves can be surpassed.
My minimum goal is 100 gloves, so I'm hoping that we can exceed that goal. And also with the fundraiser and money that people have donated through the GoFundMe page, we're going to be buying a lot more gloves to give around the community.
It makes us incredibly proud to have our students go, above and beyond the classroom, and this is what we hope for. But this goes above and beyond that. This is incredible work, and we're so proud of her for doing that.
Gloves collected from Helping Hands will be dropped off at local organizations like the Olive Tree and the Interval Home. Anyone who wants to donate can do so by dropping them off at the front of Holy Rosary High School or donate through the Helping Hands GoFundMe page. Connor Chan, Primetime Local News.
It is time now for this week's retrospect. Here's Blake Nath.
This week in retrospect, back in 1995, as Quebec discusses separation, local francophones make the case to stay.
Pour répondre à ça, vous allez au violon de la page suivante, de la page précédente. Vous allez, est-ce que c'est marqué violon?
Teacher Luc Pignon is one of many francophones in the Midwest. He says he is also one of many French-speaking Canadians who are against separation.
You can be sure that the majority, well, every francophone out of Quebec are against the sovereignty of Quebec.
Pignon heads up the French-Canadian Association in Bonnyville. He says the message the group has sent to Quebec is a simple one.
Hey, we are here in Western Canada. We want to survive as francophone. We want to progress as francophone. If you go away, what will happen to us?
Pignon says Alberta's 65,000 francophones fear what will happen to them if Quebec separates. One of their greatest worries being, will they be blamed for Quebec's decision?
We don't know. Maybe people could be mad after all. We did nothing, but maybe they will say, oh, it's their fault.
And in 2000, police respond to a bank robbery in the border city.
Started out as a normal day in downtown Lloydminster.
It was a regular Friday morning, and it was quite quiet downtown. Went across for coffee, came back, and the next thing, there was some activity across the street at the bank, which we don't really see that often here in this community.
A supposed customer was in the Toronto Dominion Bank on 50th Street and 50th Avenue, and his intent was more than a simple transaction.
This morning, just before 10:30, a lone male entered the Toronto Dominion Bank and demanded money. He helped himself to an amount of money and then fled on foot.
Police spent the day searching for clues and any possible information on the crime. And most importantly, combing the area for the suspect.
And that's all for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Find New Holland products at Webb's Machinery, your dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, Lamont, Wainwright, St. Paul, and Consulate.
Now we're Connor Chan. We'll take a look at your weather forecast.
Thanks very much, Jasmine. Taking a look at temperatures right now. 14 degrees right now for us here in the border city. A little bit cooler. Of course, we have a little bit of wind pickup throughout the morning today, which was kind of a little bit higher than what it is right now. But sitting right now at winds coming in from the west and southwest at 18 kilometers an hour with some cloud coverage to follow suit. As we take a look at some temperatures around the other area right now, we see 16 in Vermilion and Vegreville, 17 in Edmonton, 15 in Bonnyville with 14 in Cold Lake and Lac La Biche, 17 degrees in Provost, and then 18 degrees in Macklin, along with 16 degrees also in North Battleford. Maidstone also sitting at 14 degrees, and then 13 right now in St. Walburg. Here's a look at the satellite radar map. We could see some showers around that 30 to 40% chance. We could see some coming our way tonight, as well as maybe just make it kind of pass through here in the area around that 6 o'clock range that we'll see it, but nothing overnight, and it won't last very long if it does happen. But as we take a look at the school day forecast for tomorrow, 8 a.m. 10 degrees with some cloud coverage and a bit of sun, and then we get to 12 degrees for recess time tomorrow, and then 13 degrees around lunchtime, and then 16 degrees at by the time we get home time at 16 degrees. So here's a look at what we could see in other areas right now. Overnight North Battleford, 10 degrees with some cloud coverage, and then tomorrow 17 the daytime high, 9 degrees overnight in Cold Lake with that high of 15 tomorrow with some showers possibly for tomorrow. And then for us here in Lloydminster, cloud coverage overnight with 9, and then 16 degrees tomorrow with mostly sunny skies and a bit of cloud coverage. And here's what we could see over the next 3 days: 13 on a Wednesday and then 16 degrees on Thursday. That's a look at your forecast for now. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Now, as we're into early October, in a normal year, NHL prospects would have been selected and starting their season. This year, of course, the NHL draft was pushed until now. Evan Kenny and Eric Bay have the details ahead of Tuesday night.
Well, the big day is here for many hockey prospects around the world. The NHL draft is Tuesday night, just around the corner. Joining me to break down everything is Eric Bay. Eric, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but finally draft night and free agency right here this week.
Yeah, now fans like us, we're used to having that NHL draft early on in the summer. And I mean, usually the NHL regular season is just about to start here. So obviously everything is jumbled up here, but we do know for a fact that we do have some fantastic prospects. Eric, let's just go through our top 5 lists here. Obviously the New York Rangers have the number one overall pick, rather, and there is a consensus number 1 in Alexis Lafreniere. Eric, I think there's no reason for you to debate that, is there?
No, again, obviously this happens every so often when there's one guy who's just heads above the rest of the prospects in this class, and this year it's obviously Lafreniere. And you don't even need to look at his entire body of work, which is incredible. So obviously you should take a chance to do so. But just look at that World Junior Championship, really led Canada to that gold medal. And especially if you look at what he did in that game against the USA, first game of the tournament. Obviously Canada was down in a tough spot, and Lafreniere put them on his back and led them to a victory. So he can do everything, dynamic, leads a team, can score, set up guys. Yeah, definitely a number 1 overall pick.
Not just was he fantastic at the World Junior Championships, but he was actually the MVP of the entire tournament as well. The Player of the Year for the CHL, not once, but in back-to-back seasons. The last player to do that, just some guy named Sidney Crosby. So he's following in some pretty good footsteps there, and the Rangers will be lucky to have him. Now let's move on to the second pick. The LA Kings are there, and right now, I'm thinking that they take Quinton Byfield. For me, Eric, he's sort of that next best player on the board when you just think of skills alone. He had 82 points over 45 games this past season. Plus, he has a 6'4" frame, and he's already 215 pounds at just 18 years old. He's going to still develop into that big frame, and who knows, maybe we could see the making of a new Joe Thornton kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's really what you're looking at when you're looking at a guy like Byfield, is just that height and size advantage. And especially we've seen the past few years, the Western Conference, obviously big and tough. So again, any team really in the West that's looking to upgrade, and especially at that center position, could use some size. And as you mentioned, 6'4", nothing to scoff at there. But also, as you mentioned too, very good on the puck as well, has some skill, can set up guys, and especially that center position too. Just another point there, is obviously very coveted as well, and a little higher up than maybe some of the wingers on the board.
Now, my only worry with Byfield is his World Junior performance was very lackluster. He did not perform nearly as well as a lot of people had hyped him up to be. So that is a little tough when you look at draft stock. A guy who I think could possibly pass him for that number 2 spot. I currently have him rated at the number 3 spot, going to the Ottawa Senators, is Tim Stützle. What he did in a pro league as an under 18-year-old is just insane. He was the Rookie of the Year in the DEL, having 34 points in 41 games, and he's really that dynamic offensive tool there that Ottawa possibly could be getting.
Yeah, and even for me, he looks like a fit for LA too at the number 2 pick, I would say. And it's also just because of his speed. We've seen, obviously, LA the past few years has had to transition from that big, tough, grinding, slow team to a faster, smaller team, as we've seen the Pittsburgh Penguins have that success. Really ushered in that new era of hockey and kind of left the LA Kings in the dust. Really, they really dropped off pretty quick, especially after those couple of cup runs. And I think a guy like Stützle, again, doesn't have the size of Byfield, but just a little quicker, can make all the plays you want, has a high hockey IQ, and that's for me why I think he would fit pretty good as that number 2 pick. But again, really any of those top 3 guys, you're getting kind of the cream of the crop, I would say, in this entire draft for the forward perspective.
And in Stützle, we could be seeing somebody joining Leon Draisaitl as another German offensive powerhouse in the near future, hopefully there. Moving on to Detroit's pick at number 4, I have them taking Alexander Holtz from the Swedish Elite League there. He had the most points for anybody who's draft eligible coming out of that league, and some guys who have had sort of similar numbers coming out of that league at the same age. Rasmus Dahlin, Kevin Fiala, and Mika Zibanejad, all full-time NHLers, all very good NHLers as well. So he's on that right path. I think at number 4, he's also the next best player available.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I would look at Lucas Raymond possibly as the next best player available in the forward perspective, not to talk about the defense either. But yeah, again, you mentioned he's obviously got that scoring ability, but to me, that's maybe a little bit of a concern as we've seen in the past too. These guys maybe come up a little one-dimensional and maybe not necessarily just take longer, but just don't really develop that extra game they kind of need and to be able to survive in the NHL. You know, they have to diversify. So that's the one thing I would watch out for with a guy like Holtz. But as you mentioned, he has been able to put up the points so far, so I don't really expect that to not continue here as we move into the future.
Now the number 5 pick also goes to the Ottawa Senators. Here we have a little bit of a different thought process. As Eric, you have them taking a defenseman. Want to just explain?
Yeah, well, I mean, they obviously have 3 picks in this first round, so not only do I think you better switch it up a little bit, but also as we've kind of talked, they're probably going to take a forward with that top 3 pick they do have. So I think, again, you can never have too many defensemen, and I do like Jamie Drysdale for that number 4 pick with Detroit, so I would think a guy like Jake Sanderson, if he is still available at number 5, would be a guy there, but either or, and I just think especially in this day and age, they obviously do have Thomas Chabot, but you can never have enough good, fast, puck-moving defensemen. You need guys who are able to break it out. We've seen so far in the playoffs. Miro Heiskanen was kind of the big revelation this playoff run here, and so you need those guys who can get that puck up to your forwards, start the rush, break it out, and kind of drive that offense. So I think a guy like Drysdale or Sanderson would be perfect for any team really in that top 5 in need of some puck-moving help on the back end.
Now, Eric, while I don't disagree, and I think there's a very good chance that they could take a defenseman, I have them taking Lucas Raymond just as the next sort of best player that I saw available in that draft. It should be exciting to see. 5 p.m. Mountain Time is the time of the NHL draft. Eric, thank you for joining me.
For sure. Always fun to talk draft.
Now our Connor Chan will take a look at your weather forecast.
Thanks very much, Jasmine. Looking at temperatures right now, we've gone up a degree compared to in the last little bit here. At 15 is what we sit at right now. 17 out in Edmonton as we move out a little bit west. 18 degrees in Edson and Whitecourt, along with Jasper. 20 degrees in Red Deer, and then 19 for Rocky Mountain House. Over in the Saskatchewan side there, 17 in Saskatoon and Prince Albert, 15 in North Battleford, and then 16 in Melfort, with 13 up in Meadow Lake, and then 14 degrees in Cold Lake as well. Speaking of up north, let's take a look at some northern Alberta and Saskatchewan temperatures. We see 14 consistent 14-degree temperatures in areas like La Loche, Buffalo Narrows, La Ronge, and in Flin Flon as well. 9 degrees out in South End, and then 6 for both Uranium City and Stony Rapids as it's kind of as we go further north. 13 in Fort McMurray right now with 10 degrees in High Level, 17 in Peace River and in Slave Lake, with 16 degrees for Grand Prairie, and then 11 degrees in Fort Chipewyan. So here's what we see in the southern Alberta areas right now. A little bit warmer still. Still consistently being much warmer than us here at 24 degrees in Lethbridge, with 23 in Medicine Hat, as well as in Calgary we see 23 degrees, 16 in Banff, and then 19 degrees for Coronation, and then we see 19 degrees also in Swift Current, Moose Jaw, and in Estevan, 18 degrees for Kindersley and Regina, and then 16 degrees in Yorkton. This is what we see across the rest of the country right now. Pretty similar temperatures and cloud coverages in the area there in the out east. So we look at Winnipeg at 18 right now with mostly clouds and a bit of sun. 13 in Toronto with 12 in Quebec City. As we get into the Maritimes, of course, it's getting close to the evening there with that 7 in St. John's and 10 degrees in Halifax. 17 in Edmonton with some of that cloud coverage, kind of similar to what we're experiencing right now. We also see 17 degrees in Vancouver with 5 in Yellowknife, and then 9 degrees up in Whitehorse. So this is what we could see for tomorrow. We could see a little bit warmer temperatures at a high of 16 degrees. We could see also a low of 10 degrees tomorrow to start the day off. But 16 will be the consistent number we'll see throughout the area here in Vermilion, Marwayne, Vegreville, and Edmonton as well. 15 we'll also see up north in Bonnyville, Cold Lake, Lac La Biche, and Pierceland as well. Down in Provost and Macklin, 17 degrees tomorrow for their daytime high, along with North Battleford. And we'll also see 16 degrees in Green Lake and Meadow Lake, with 13 in Isle La Crosse. So here's what we could see over the next couple of days here. 13 on Wednesday with some cloud coverage continuing there. As we go back to 16 degrees on Thursday with some sun and cloud mixes there. Friday, a high of 12 for that day. 17 on Saturday as we have a little bit warmer temperatures there. 12 degrees on Sunday with continued cloud coverage, kind of similar to what we saw last Sunday as we see a 40% chance of some rain there. And then 11 degrees on Monday next week. As we look at the averages, we're kind of still around the middle for our daytime high averages, and we're right above average for our daytime lows as we average around 1 specifically, and then we are seeing some temperatures that are above 1 to start the day off. That is a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
So from October 4th to the 10th is Fire Prevention Week. Can you give me a better understanding of what this week entails?
Go ahead. It's just to promote fire safety within the communities. They picked this week, goes all the way back to 1871 out of the big Chicago fire, and it's just kind of generated over the last several decades as to the promotion of fire safety within the communities across North America.
And you team up with National Fire Protection Association. What is the slogan you both are promoting?
We are promoting serving up fire safety in the kitchen this year. That's the national program that everybody's working with this year.
Okay, and how long has this campaign been around for?
Bill?
Every year they change their slogan. Again, this year, like we said, it's serving up fire safety in the kitchen. One of the top causes for fires in 2020 was cooking and heating fires. So again, they fear it's a good reason to have that theme. For us, for how long the themes have been going on, I believe it's about 50 plus years. They've always have a different theme, whether it's having your escape plan or you know, different ideas to just promote and put kind of make it a catchy phrase for fire safety and make sure people are listening to it and you know, keeping it short and simple. So.
Okay, and in your experience, how do fires normally start in people's homes?
This year alone in the city of Lloydminster, we've had about 67 calls that were due to cooking. Whether that's their fire alarm going off or whatever it might be, that was our alarm calls. We went to 67 various cooking related calls, and we actually had 9 fires this year related to whether it's a kitchen fire or barbecue cooking related type fire, structure fires. So again, it's a significant part of our call response is going to cooking or barbecue related alarms or fire calls.
Okay, and what safety tips would you give residents to avoid these situations?
Some of the safety tips is from the cooking in the kitchen side is any grease fires, put a lid on the pot or pan versus dumping water. If you dump water in it, we're gonna cause a bigger problem and cause some significant injuries. Same as not using a fire extinguisher on those same types of fires because it could splash it across the kitchen again, still cause some bigger events. So again, taking a wet cloth, putting it over top of a pan or a pot, or using a lid.
And how can people help support and spread awareness of Fire Prevention Week?
They can go on to nfpa.org. Again, this year's pretty unique for us. We're not able to get into the schools like we've done in the past to get our message out. So we're relying on our corporate communications team to help us with getting the message out, whether it's through social media or through resources like yourself, getting the message to the community about being fire safe. If they have questions, they can go to nfpa.org. There's a lot of information in regards to fire safety on there. Again, they can phone Station 1 or Station 2. We're more than happy to talk to them on the phone. Just unfortunately this year with the COVID-19 pandemic that we just can't get out in the community. The other sad part of this year too is we can't have the open house like we usually have, which has really been a big input to getting the message out and interacting with the kids and the families and the parents at our open house. And it's always been an overwhelming response from the community. So yeah, we definitely will miss that and miss that interaction. But hopefully through all these other resources, we can get the message out to the community, and looking forward to not just sticking to 1 week of being fire safe, but hopefully we can promote it through the community to always have that sense for safety for your family and for your neighbors.
And would you say that from this global pandemic making residents stay home more than usual, there's been more incidents with fires this year?
I guess that's a hard number to really nail down. I think there's always been a concern of having, fire safety in the kitchen and being aware of it. Has the pandemic increased or decreased the calls? That's really a statistic we haven't really delved into in much more detail. It may be more of a risk because they are at home, but again, also being at home, you're aware of, you're in your house, you're not, didn't leave a pot on the stove when you brought the kids to school or went out for work for the day. So, it may have helped with people being home. It may have, that statistic can go both ways. So.
And also with COVID-19, has it affected the way the fire department works when protecting residents in those situations? Like, have people been needing to wear extra gear or anything?
We go through the screening criteria if we're going to someone's home for whether it's a fire call or a medical assist. We ask the 911 dispatchers to go through the online screening criteria, and if there is a concern with the COVID, we would try and protect ourselves with wearing extra gear. But we again keep our social distance and being aware of what that distance should be, and again interacting with the community. Right, we just still need to do the job that protecting our community. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, I'm joined today with Sarah Fox. She is the Development Coordinator for Thorpe Recovery Center. Thanks for taking some time to talk to me today, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
So the Sober September Challenge has just wrapped up. For those who don't know what that is, can you just talk about that a little bit to start off today?
Sure, yeah. So Sober September is a challenge to give up alcohol for the month of September. If you don't want to give up alcohol, someone could have given up something else like sugar, coffee, anything that's considered a vice in your life. And by doing so, you are raising awareness about recovery services and also fundraising for the Thorpe Recovery Center.
The people who took part in this were called Sober Heroes. And first of all, what was the goal this year for people who were donating money and stuff? So what was the goal?
The goal was $10,000 this year. And a non-monetary goal that I really want to impress upon is the awareness about recovery. And for me, you can't put a quantity on that or a value on it. So, yeah.
And then this year, was there a big increase in people just participating in the challenge?
There sure was. So last year we had a smaller turnout of about 6 Sober Heroes. The year before that we had about 20. So it's always been a very small number, mostly of people who are really connected with the center. Mm-hmm. And then this year we had a huge jump. We had 60 registered Sober Heroes, but I do know that there was a couple teams of multiple people, so probably 80 to 100 Sober Heroes this year, which is just unbelievable.
And you talk about the awareness. People a lot of times were posting it on their Facebook that they were taking part in this challenge. I know you said you couldn't talk about like how valuable it is, but can you just talk a little bit, if you can, about how important it is to spread awareness about what's going on?
For sure. So a lot of the talk around addiction is often very negative, and it just puts a bad light on it, and it's a disease. So we wanted to shed light that it is a disease, that recovery is possible, and that it does take a community for people to support it. And for us, that impact and getting that message out was huge. So we can break the stigma, and then hopefully more people will come forward, say that they need help, and get the treatment services that they do need. And overall the community will be healthier and more connected.
So I don't know if you guys are done counting all the money and figuring out how much was raised, but do you have a grand total?
We have a ballpark. We're still waiting on a few cash donations to come in, but we're at about $14,000, and it's more than I could have ever imagined.
And what's that money going to be going towards?
So we have designated it towards capital projects. Right now, we're kind of just talking behind the scenes, now knowing what we're going to be working with, just to see where it's going to go. We do have a lot of capital needs, new mattresses, some refurbishing of our gym to make it more of a usable space, because right now it's being used for meetings and there's a lot of echo and things like that. So it will go towards a capital project.
And what does it feel like to be able to get this support from the community? So last year there was only about 6, and now we're close to possibly even 100 people. What's it like to feel that support from the people in and around Lloydminster?
It's been incredible. It's honestly really validating that people are taking notice of what we're doing and that our services are valuable. And yeah, just with this year of everything feeling really negative, it's nice to see something super positive come out of all of our isolation and disconnection, that we can actually come back together and support the community.
And now as we head into the winter, is there anything else that's going to be coming up with Thorpe Recovery Center?
Honestly, I was just trying to get through September, but I guess we're moving forward. We will have our AGM coming up in November, so folks can check our Facebook and website for more details on that as they are released. And we're also hopefully going to celebrate our 45th year coming up in the spring. So
that's very exciting, some big stuff down the road. And I want to thank you, Sarah, for taking some time to talk with me today.
Thank you so much.
All right, taking one last look here at your weather forecast. We could see some showers in the later part of tonight, but taking a look at the next 7 days, 16 degrees on Tuesday, 13 on Wednesday with some increased cloud coverage there, 16 on Thursday as we get a little bit more sun and some cloud coverage as well. We start to see 12 degrees on Fridays. We kind of cool off a little bit there, but as we get into Saturday, we'll have a little bit more warm temperatures there with mostly sun and a bit of clouds with that high of 17 degrees. 12 on Sunday with cloud coverage kind of similar to what we saw last Sunday. 11 degrees on Monday to wrap up the 7 days there. We usually average around 13 for our daytime high and averaging around 1 degree, excuse me, for our daytime lows. So we're above averages for our daytime lows, and we're kind of on the mark for our average daytime highs.
Thanks for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a great night.